And we're live. Paul Hughes, sir, thank you so much for, first of all, nice to meet you, but also, secondly, thank you so much for taking the time, especially 11 days out, I believe, from fight night. So I appreciate you
Yes,
taking
sir.
the time.
No, I appreciate you, mate. Thank you for having me on.
So I told you a few seconds ago, a little tidbit, a little story, a little something the world doesn't know about Paul Hughes.
I mean, something random. I mean, you literally just told me. So I think the first thing that came to my head, I guess, is not a lot of people have a clue about me, is that I'm actually very into like meditation. I've spent some time in silent retreat. So people probably wouldn't fucking think that, considering I get in the cage and fight people. So yeah.
Considering that you're a sick bastard who punches other people in the head for a living.
Exactly.
So you go to silent retreats?
I've been on one before. I play around with meditation. It's a big part of my life. Like, so I think it was like 8 days silence in mountains in Thailand somewhere in Koh Samui. So that's just a random one. That's
So it's 8 days.
Yeah.
So you're in Thailand, and what's it like? Like they take away your phone, or what's that? What's that?
Yeah, totally silent. Like no reading, no books, writing, nothing at all. Completely no mirrors. You sort of it goes in deep. It's all just sort of, I guess, vipassana meditation. Majority of the day. And then there's little bits of yoga and stuff as well in the retreat I was on, which was quite nice.
So do you have are there other people around?
Yeah, there's other people on the retreat as well. So you have like, I guess there's a few mentors or a few teachers that take different classes throughout the day for meditation. So people join the group, and then you can it's a center, and you can sort of just go off and do your own thing. Luckily, the one I was at was right beside like a little waterfall, just right in the mountains. So you were able to sort of just go explore nature and just yeah, it's pretty mad. It was quite a few years, maybe 3-4 years ago now. I'm sort of longing to get back to that, to be completely honest. But right now I'm in, I guess, fight and kill mode.
So what was the desire to go and do something like that? Because that's pretty intense. I mean, people tell me, people meditate daily, 10, 15 minutes when they get up. But, to isolate yourself in Thailand for 8 days is a whole other ballpark.
Yeah, for sure. I was in Thailand training, and there's some really good MMA training camps there. So I was there, and I had been meditating for years, and it's something I just wanted to go and go a little bit deeper. And then I've heard retreats are just the way to do that. It's like a really intense training camp essentially. So yeah, there was one close by, and I thought, yeah, let's give it a try. And I did. It was absolutely amazing, beautiful experience, and one I hope to have again soon.
What did you learn about yourself during those 8 days?
Ah, I learned a few things, bro. I learned a few things, but I think what you get mostly from it is this sort of, you can tap into this, I guess, state of mind that you didn't really know was possible. And when you get there, it's a lot easier to bring yourself back there in normal life, because you've had the feelings before. You can sort of calm the mind enough where you can tap into this sort of, don't know, I would want to sound too woo woo on it, but it's like this, not a higher power, but it's like you realize that how life can actually be lived. It can be lived stress and anxiety free if you are willing to put in enough time into your meditation and spiritual practice. So yeah, it's a hell of an experience. I give you that.
Did you feel like there was significant benefits in every aspect of your life, personal life, fighting after that little retreat?
Yeah, I mean, it transfers to everything, to be completely honest. It's not really something that's like, not that it massively helps you with fighting or anything like that, because I guess the whole idea of it is to essentially empty the mind, clear the mind, and become just more and more aware of the thoughts coming in and out of your mind at all times. So, but when you get to them sort of places, it definitely has a knock-on effect to other things in your life. It definitely feeds the soul, as without getting too woo-woo on you.
And do you still meditate daily?
uh, do you know what? I would love to say I do meditate daily, but
But then
I,
you'd be
I don't.
lying.
Yeah, exactly. I don't, but I do try to be very mindful throughout the day, especially there's times, or for example, when I'm driving, a lot of the time when I'm driving, it's like a mindful cue for me. It's like just total presence. And I guess that's what meditation is essentially. It's just bringing yourself back from being lost in thought and just being aware of the moment, be aware of the thoughts coming in and out. So I just try to have as much, I guess, present moments throughout the day. that helps with stress and anxiety for sure, especially when you're in fight camps and things like that. So, for example, I was just in the sauna before I came here. We're doing a recovery session, and that's just what I was trying to do. I was just trying to be mindful, just focus on the breath, and just part of my life.
I think also, I mean, and just in listening to you talk, and for people out there that are, if this is the first time they're hearing you speak, you're very young. You're 24, 25.
I'm
You're
24. Yeah.
24, yeah. And I think that I think it's also very encouraging because I think it's a big sign of maturity as well. Just as a fighter, I guess, better understanding how you process things, but as a human being as well. So I think that that's just very impressive, and I think you've got to probably see that in the way that it disciplines you when it comes to your career. No.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your mind is the basis of absolutely everything you experience, whether it's career based things or whether it's just your general mental health. It transfers to everything. So yeah.
So where are you at right now? I mean, we're about 11 days out. This will come out a few days before your fight. But where are you at? I guess physically, mentally for what is going to be the biggest fight of your career to date.
Yeah, bro, I'm in the best physical and mental space I've ever been in, to be completely honest. The camp has been just amazing, amazing. Every camp has its ups and downs and injuries and niggles, but this camp has been extra special. I've hit some real new levels here, and I'm just in that last push of hard training. Once we get a week out from the fight, all the hard work's done and it's a little bit more relaxed. So I'm sort of in the last push here at the minute.
Do you feel like, so you had your first fight at 16 is what I heard. Is this correct?
Yes, sir. That's
So
correct.
so from the ages of 16 to now 24, I mean, 8 years is a fairly amount of time, but you're still so young. How have you noticed that you've just changed in your preparations and your mindset going into a fight night?
Oh, I mean, everything's changed. Like I've grown up, I guess, throughout the sport now, and I've actually been fighting professionally now. Just I think it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago was the anniversary of my pro debut, which was actually just over 5 years ago now. So I made my professional debut when I was 19, which is pretty fucking young, pretty fucking young. I had a little bit of an injury streak in between that. I had 2 years off, but yeah, I mean, I just feel like as I progress now, I sort of feel like a young veteran, to be completely honest. And everything I'm doing in my camps and in my life now is all just for high performance, for optimal, to be the best in the world. And that's, I guess, what my life is.
Did you did you ever think so as a young kid and for people that are listening now, I guess there was from I think the interview with or the podcast with Shane Todd, who's hilarious. I was listening to that yesterday. You guys should check that out.
Mm.
Very funny comedian. That Paul was on his show recently. You talk about, first getting into the sport and there was a little bit of hesitancy with the parents.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, whose mom and dad wants to see their kid get in a cage and fucking fight people? Like, do you know what I mean? It's not that fucking normal of a thing to do. Especially me growing up, I was just playing football. I was playing like Irish football, which is called Gaelic football, and hurling, which is another Irish sport, and then soccer as well. So that was more normal shit to do. And then I was like, nah, I want to fight. Like, I love this shit. Like, I love it. And they were like, a couple of years were trying to talk me in and out of it. But when they seen that when they seen how much I love the sport and how much it was given to my life and the person I was becoming because of the sport, they were totally fine with it. And now they're the most supportive parents in the world.
Do you think that your love for the sport came from just I guess, the beauty and the discipline of mixed martial arts, or was there, because, for some kids they overcame certain insecurities or anger, whatever it is. What was your root of the love for the sport?
I think it was rooted in competition, to be completely honest. When I was playing football, I was very, very competitive and I was always playing at a high level and I always wanted to win. And I was always the kid that was always willing to sort of put in the extra work to train hard, to be the best. And I loved competition. And I think MMA is just the ultimate form of competition. And when I fell in love with it, that was just it.
Why do you think you've always had this burning competitive edge in you?
I don't know. I think probably a few reasons. I mean, I wasn't the tallest kid growing up, so I probably had that small kid thing of wanting to be tough and wanting to get stuck into people and show
That's a
that I'm
real
not
thing. That's a
small.
real thing.
Oh, for sure. I mean, funny, I actually sort of found this out one time when I was doing interviews for Cagewarriors just before the fights. They were like, "Where did this come from?" And I was like, "Ah, do you know what? I have an older brother who's 2 years older than me, and I used to always play with his friends." And then I realized, do you know what? I probably was that competitive because I wanted to just fit in and be able to play with the older kids and just not be looked at as like the wee smaller kids. So I wanted to be tougher. So probably insecurities is the reason I'm a fighter.
Do you feel like it's funny because I think a lot of fighters feel similarly about that in a lot of ways, but do you feel more secure now that you're a fighter?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, fighting, I guess, just gives you this confidence. I mean, obviously you're fine if anything ever happens to you physically, but it's more mentally. I mean, like when I really just don't really get annoyed by too many things. Like somebody cuts you off in traffic, like any of that bullshit. It doesn't matter. You've been at the gym all morning, fucking fighting cunts. Do you know what I mean? You've been you've been there, like putting the work in. So yeah, it definitely calms the mind, gives you more confidence for sure.
But do you think so? Do you think like that reason why if someone cuts you off in traffic and you kind of are more at peace, is it because you know that like if anything goes wrong, you could just fuck them up?
Maybe a little bit, but it's not really It's not what I'm thinking. I'm just sort of just like, yeah, whatever. I just let it pass.
You're an old
It is what it is.
you're an old wise soul.
I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that. Getting there.
Um, what is it also like? I mean, even on the physical side, it must be weird to, and I'm always curious when I have my fighters in here, um, just realizing that kind of, I don't know how to describe, or I wouldn't know how you would describe it. That's why I want to understand of the feeling of when you know that like 99.9% of people won't really ever be able to A, feel the kind of confidence physically that you can have over someone, um,
Mhm.
and B, just know that like that's got to add a layer of security, knowing that like if you ever are in a position, you could choke someone out. You can, I mean, you have far more skills than the average Joe walking down the street.
Yeah, absolutely. But then I'm also not oblivious to the fact that in a street fight, anything goes, and people can use weapons and guns and
Yeah.
knives. So I don't think I'm invincible. Put it like that. I'm still very much know what can happen out there in the big bad world.
Have you ever gotten into a fight since you become a fighter on like a street fight?
No, I haven't,
You're a peaceful
which is
fellow.
a good thing. I'm a peaceful fella, mate, and especially if I'm ever out with my friends. Like my friends are all pretty chilled out. When I drink alcohol, I'm even more happy than I am. I'm like a pretty happy drunk. So altercation and things like that is definitely not my thing. I fucking hate it, to be completely honest. I hate conflict, which is sounds a bit counterintuitive. The fact that I'm a fucking fighter, but yeah.
What is I think it's always so interesting too, because I mean, from even in talking to you 20, 25 minutes, you seem like a fantastic individual. And it's so, it's so weird for people
Thank
who
you.
don't know the fight game in the MMA world to think that you go into a cage that's locked and you go and try to either submit somebody unconsciously or other ways, and or just knock them out cold, and it's war. It's 1v1. Like how do you switch a mindset from, being a fantastic human being to being someone who's going in there to kill?
Well, first of all, thank you. Very kind. I don't know, man. I think it's just this competitive thing in me. It's the yin and yang. Is important. Training hard, you got to get in the zone. You got to get to that dark place sometimes to get through hard trainings, hard camps. But to me, it's all for, I guess, the greater good. It's all for like fighting and things like that. It's all the vehicle to, I guess, actualize my best self and become the best person that I can be. And why not do that in the hardest sport in the world? And why not try be the best in the world at the hardest sport in the world? So yeah, I mean, as I say, it is a lot of yin and yang though. Like getting in the cage and fighting someone. Sometimes I say to myself, like, what the hell am I doing? Like I was on Saturday night there, some of my teammates were fighting, and whenever you go in and you start watching the fights the first or second, you're just like, this is absolutely crazy. Like this is fucking nuts. And then I think, I do this. So it's sort of mad, but I mean, fuck, I love the sport, man. I absolutely love it, and I'm a fighter through and through. So Yeah, it's a lot of, I guess, yin and yang.
What's the describe like the when you say like the dark place in a fight, like what has that looked like in the past? Because I mean, you're fatigued, you're hurt, you know, I mean, it's a whole range of things, but describe that feeling because it's got to be unlike any other dark place feeling there is.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a hard thing to describe, to be honest. It's like, I guess you just imagine being the most physically exhausted you've ever been. Like think about a hard training session or something that's been like so physically demanding. Imagine doing that and having these feelings inside a cage where you're fighting and you've still got another round, you got another 2 rounds. And to be completely honest, most of this happens in my training camps to prepare me for the fight. So that's why training camps are so tough. It's not just that you get in and have the fight and that's it. But I mean, my last fight was 5 rounds, and regardless of how fit you are, 5 5s in MMA competition is tough. So I didn't quite have to go to as dark a place. I do think the last round, of course, was tough, and but I was getting the better of the guy, so it wasn't quite as dark. But yeah, it's a hard thing to describe. You really, this is why you got to forge the mindset and the physicality through a training camp, because you got to prepare yourself for these situations. And thankfully, I mean, I've never quit in my life. I've never, there's nothing in my mind that will ever make me quit, which is an amazing thing to have as a fighter. I've never quit and never will quit. So I know that going into hard fights, regardless of where it goes, like I'll go to the death, and it's a good thing.
Do you think that there's been a moment, and you might not, that you could pinpoint in your life that was maybe perhaps difficult that kind of, I guess, prepared you for moments that are just so fucking difficult when you're in a cage fight?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, I had a 2 year layoff in my career. So after my professional debut, my debut blew up online. We've done millions of hits. Like this 19-year-old kid got a first round KO. Like it was crazy. It was in my hometown here in Belfast, or home country in Northern Ireland, in Belfast. And after that fight, I broke my hand, and I just really had this horrific streak of hand injuries where I broke it 4 times in a year, 4 times in 12 months, and then had a hand surgery. So there was points where I was like, oh, well, my career's over. And as of course your love being taken away from you over and over, like you think you're getting back, handbrake, you think you're getting back, surgery, doctors telling you you're never going to fight again. Your dreams are being ripped away from you. Do you know what I mean? So there was definitely dark trying periods throughout that. And I drew a lot of inspiration then. I ended up flipping that obstacle into being one of the best things that's ever happened to me. And that's been very important to forging the mindset that I've created now, and to becoming the person that I've become now. So yeah, that would be my answer for that one.
How is so is your hand better now?
Yeah, I've had absolutely zero issues since I returned to fighting. So
So
thank God.
how did it break 4 times? Like, is it just were you punching the wrong way, as silly as that sounds, or what?
So the first time I broke it was on my left hand, and then broke my right hand straight
Oh,
after
okay.
that. And it was the right hand I was having issues with. I was basically coming back to sparring after the time that I was taking 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, whatever it was. And when I was coming back to sparring, I was just hitting it, and wasn't even too sore, but it was just refracturing it each
Mhm.
time. And it was just like, it was just freak incidents, to be completely honest. And then I ended up having to get surgery on it after the 3 breaks in the right hand. So as I say, ever since that, I've had zero issues. So it's been a blessing.
Thank God. So you have your fight on the 18th, and obviously you're not looking past that. And that is, I mean, for people, I mean, you're fighting at the O2.
Yes, sir.
That's got to be pretty cool for someone like yourself. I mean, headlining.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, bro. It's pretty cool. I must say, my last few fights have been in London, and the last one was the first one since COVID, so the fans were allowed back. We sold it out. It was a fucking crazy event, and the O2 is going to be just times 10. Like there's so many fans and followers going over. The Irish, as we know, are like some of the best, are the best supporters in the world. So they're going to be putting out for sure in this fight, and we'll blow the roof off the O2.
And it's funny because our mutual connection, Dave Fish, who is your manager, or is full
Yes, sir.
manager. Or, I mean, I know Paradigm manages everything.
Yeah, manager.
He's who I had on my show, if people remember, who's a lovely guy, very smart individual. He told me, because I don't know, I think I was just talking to him randomly, and he's like, "Yeah, I just got back from Cagewarriors, and it was the absolute greatest show I've ever seen. I mean, the place was just rocking, and it's got to be. I mean, for you, that's got to be unbelievable as an Irishman to have all your people follow you and you. I mean, you guys are some of the fucking most wild fans on the planet."
Damn right, bro. As I say, we truly showed out that night. We truly showed out, and respect also to the French fans. I was fighting a French guy with a big following. They had an amazing fan base there. So just the way that it worked out, there was two balconies, and the Irish were in one balcony, the French were in the other. My corner was all of my fans just behind me, and the balcony just above, and his were the opposite side. You couldn't have planned it any better. The stars all aligned, and it was mayhem. It was quite a small venue. It was maybe like under 1,000
Wow.
capacity, but it was absolutely insane. It's called the York Hall. It's an iconic boxing venue here in the UK. And I had the manager coming up to me after and saying, "This is the best event we've ever done."
Wow.
And that says a lot. Like, and as I say though, next week is going to be times 10. I truly believe it. I've got times 10 the following going over and the support. So yeah, it's going to be another big one.
What is I mean, and I don't want to get ahead too much. But as a young fighter, is the goal only the UFC? I mean, I have my UFC guys, and they go like, take a Patty. I had Patty on recently, and he's another Cagewarriors alum. Who
Mhm.
and it's weird because in watching some of your old fights in preparation for this and watching Patty, and he's a crazy little Scouse fellow himself, but he's
Mhm.
it's a lot of that same kind of love, and I think Graham's done a great job, and I think your management has done a great job in kind of getting those fights and putting you in the right moments that are not too big, that are also big enough. Like, is the dream the UFC? Obviously, I'd imagine.
For sure, for sure. I mean, when I get to finish next week, it'll be undeniable. I believe I'll definitely be signed to the UFC straight away because I will have taken out absolutely everybody in Europe, all the best guys in Cagewarriors. I will have beat. So there'll be no one left for me to fight. And look, I'm 24 years old. I'll be 9-1, 10-0 in my opinion next week. And yeah, I've got a crazy fan base behind me, and it's gonna be. I'll be undeniable. I think next week I'll definitely have that UFC contract.
How do you measure your own success? Is it wins and losses? Like, if you at the end of your career, do you have to be UFC champion for yourself to be satisfied? What are the metrics that you use to kind of evaluate your career?
Yeah, for me, I'm only in this to be world champion. Of course, I want to make money at this point in my career, and that was, of course, when you're coming up, it's not really what you're thinking about. As of right now, you're still not making any money, but I want to be the UFC Featherweight champion. That's the only reason that I do this now. There's just too much sacrifice involved for me to settle for anything less. I'm in this deep, and I've already become champion of the world in Cagewarriors, which was my first major goal. So I will do the second and become the UFC Featherweight champion.
Boom. I don't even know if there's anything else to say about that.
Hmm.
But
That's it, bro.
so give me a quick prediction for next week. What are we thinking?
I see a KO within 2 rounds.
KO within 2 rounds.
Yeah,
Right hook, left hook, uppercut. What are we? Head kick.
either. I can put him out with either hand, head kicks. I've knocked people out with head kicks. I've knocked them out with elbows. I've knocked them out with punches. I've got it all.
Do you feel like you're already in his head a little bit? That you own any real estate in there?
For sure, for sure. Definitely. We done a little bit of like a press thing a few months ago at a previous Cagewarriors event. So we got a bit of time together. Although I respect him a lot, I do like him. I think he's a nice guy, but it is business at this point, and we can be friends after. I don't really care. As I'm putting him to sleep in there.
Beautiful. And is there any last question? Is there any venue that you would love to fight at one day? I feel like Madison Square Garden would suit you well.
For sure. MSG is. I mean, that's got to be number one on the list. Like MSG, just the most iconic venue in the world. New York, of course, the Irish sort of connection there. That would be number one. alongside the SSE Arena in Belfast here, where I made my pro debut, the biggest venue here in Belfast. And I want to bring the UFC back here for my people and show them what we can do here in Belfast.
It's funny because I saw Ian Gary make his UFC debut at MSG this past, and that was awesome because, you know, on that similar track of Cagewarriors, and I could, in listening to you talk, I'm like, you know, I mean, there's the whole lineage of Irish MMA fighters, starting with Conor, obviously, but do you feel like there's that pressure to live up to a Conor, you know, even Ian Gary, who's doing really well for himself in the UFC, you know, to be on that next wave?
Yeah, absolutely. It's what a privilege to be in that next wave, to be one of the guys following in one of the greatest fighters of all time, Conor McGregor. And I actually hold the belt that he held before making it to the UFC.
So crazy.
So yeah, I plan to follow in them footsteps, and yeah, I just plan to be myself along the way as well. So it's a good life.
Have you met Conor yet?
I haven't met him personally, but I've been in contact with him since my last fight. He gave it a share and gave me a message, and I've spoken to him a couple of times. He's so supportive, and fuck, what an honor that is. What an absolute honor that is. And funny enough, it just dawned on me last week. I was like, why don't I like share a card with him someday?
Yeah, why not?
Like, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I share a card with him someday? It just came to me last week, and so now that's in my head. I'm gonna start fucking thinking, manifesting that shit. So it'll happen one day.
Beautiful. Well, I don't want to take any more of your time. This is prime fight week time, or almost fight week. But I just want to tell you, thank you so much for taking the time. It was a pleasure and an honor to meet you, and I hope that you know, wherever it'll be, New York, if you come here soon, I would love to get you back in studio. But I'm looking forward to watching your fight next week, and go take care of business and rise to the top as soon as possible.
Absolutely, bro. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram at felix.levine, and if you have something to say, please leave a comment.